Donald, nice to talk to you.
Hello, Greta.
Well, there's big news today pitting the environmentalists against labor and the Republicans against the Democrats and business against anti-business, everybody else say over this Keystone Pipeline project. Your thought about the news that it is at least no permit is going to be issued at least now for the pipeline?
Well, I think it's disgraceful. And frankly, we don't need Canada. We should just be able to drill our own oil. But as long as it's there, we certainly should have approved it. It was jobs and it was cheaper oil. And it's just absolutely incredible. I guess President Obama took care of the environmentalists, but it is absolutely terrible. And it is not an environmental problem at all in any way, shape, or form.
You know what, though? I take it back one step further than, I guess, everybody else, in that in 2008, that was when the State Department agreed there would be an environmental impact study done to see what effect this pipeline would have, if any, on the environment. And what they did is they basically outsourced to the TransCanada, the pipeline company, to pick its own company to do the environmental study, and they picked a company that had other business with them. In essence, a conflict of interest. Right. So naturally, when the environmental study report came back, the impact came back last August, the company said, whether truthfully or not, is that it had no adverse impact on the environment. So it's like sending the fox out to guard the chicken coop. Our government is so stupid as to let a company who's got to get the environmental impact study done hire its own contractor, and naturally with a conflict of interest. So it's no surprise.
Well, you ought to look into it, frankly. Look into the political contributions, who got what. But it's just a total mess. And, you know, this is the way our country has been run. It's a laughing stock, Greta, all over the world. All over the world they laugh at us. People tell me about the Keystone from Europe and from other places and from China, and they don't even know what's going on. They can't even believe it. But, you know, honestly, we're taking oil from Canada. We're paying Canada a lot of money. We don't even need Canadian oil if we did it right. The really right way is drill our own oil. We have so much of it, we don't know what to do. Between natural gas and oil and lots of other things, we should be doing our own. But the fact is, the Keystone Pipeline is a positive. You're talking about tens of thousands of jobs. You're talking about lower oil. And let's have at least the option of taking the oil from Canada, which we don't need if we would do it really right.
Yeah, but what's happened, though, is that by virtue of this complete blunder in creating a conflict of interest in the first environmental impact study, is that it has put it on another timetable so that another decision will be made post-election, post-2012 election, essentially letting people off the hook on making tough political decisions right now, whether permanently or temporarily or whatever on this pipeline, is that it's another government screw-up, a conflict of interest, which has now thrust us into this problem.
Well, I think Obama is using that as the reason that he's delaying it, and I think it's just another excuse. I think, frankly, the impact study was probably fine, and I would imagine the president is using
Donald,
it because I've heard from day one he's going to delay it.
Whether it's fine or not, why in the world would the government be so stupid as to facilitate a chance for a company that has at least the appearance of a conflict of interest to do the environmental study? Well, I mean, there is no wisdom in doing that.
Maybe
Absolutely
it was done
none.
on purpose, because I've heard from day one that he was never going to approve this before the election. And you know, the funny thing is, I actually think he would have gotten votes if he did approve it. I think there are many more people that would like to see it than not like to see it. So I actually think it would have been a politically positive thing. People are tired. You see what's happening to gasoline prices. They're setting a record for this time of the year, and it's only going to get worse as the weather gets warmer and people start to travel. So I actually think it would have been a positive politically for President Obama.
What do you think about the news today that the White House, at least the White House, is silent as to the question of whether or not the Obama administration has called for direct talks with Iran? The White House is not exactly denying it, but there's a report out of Iran that we're trying to have direct talks.
Well, I think that's a positive. I think we should be talking to Iran. I've been saying for a long time, we don't speak to anybody. We don't talk. That doesn't show weakness. That shows, in a way, strength. We should have talks with Iran. There's nothing wrong with it. If we can do that without having to go into another war and without having to drop missiles, and nobody's, as you know, nobody's more into the military than Donald Trump. But we don't talk to anybody, and we should be having talks. So I view that as a positive. I let it be known. I view it totally as a positive. We should be having talks with Iran.
What would you be saying to the President Ahmadinejad if you were president having those talks?
Well, look, first of all, we have all the strength. We have it now, long before. And and certainly before they start coming up with their nuclear program, which is obviously not meant to be a positive thing for us. But I'd be telling them what it is. We're hurting them. We're crippling them. We're hurting them in a lot of ways with the embargoes and with what we're doing. But if I'm dealing from we're dealing from such strength. This is the time to be talking to them. I'm sure that if they have the right negotiator, which I'm sure we don't have, we can make an unbelievable deal, better than spending tens of billions of dollars and starting another conflict in the Middle East.
But do they really need us? I know that with sanctions are great in theory if there's no leak in them, but it's not as though Iran doesn't have other friends. They have Syria, they have North Korea, they have other countries that are willing to buy their oil products, even if Europe won't and even if we will not. So are we really going to hurt them?
I'm hearing the sanctions are hurting them. It's really doing some bad numbers on their economy, and I am hearing that the sanctions are being somewhat effective. They're never totally effective, but they're effective. I think it's a great time to talk, and we're talking from strength. We can make a great deal if they have the right negotiator. That's the big question. Who's negotiating? I look at the deals this country makes. We don't make any good deals anymore. But we are really dealing from strength, and it's great if we're going to talk. And by the way, if Obama is talking, I think that's a great thing. Not a bad thing, a great thing.
Here's how I'd play it. I always look to see if I were on the flip side, how would I be playing this? If I were Ahmadinejad and I got President Obama to talk, I would get him to talk. I would drag out the negotiations as long as I possibly could, and I could probably do it quite effectively for a long period of time. Meanwhile, my nuclear enrichment program would be on full speed ahead. And what talking does oftentimes is buy you time so that you can achieve other goals. Their goal, well, at least we believe their goal to be, is to get a nuclear weapon.
You're 100% right, but the talks don't have to take a long time. At least you have to give them a try. It doesn't have to go on for months and months. I mean, you can know at the end of a day whether or not they're going to work. When I go into a deal, I know almost immediately if a deal is going to happen.
You recently tweeted, Barack Obama asked Iran for our drone back. They're returning a miniature model, and then you've retweeted something which says another diplomatic coup. What did you mean? Are you talking about I guess they're sort of trying to... There's a sales pitch there trying to make fun of us over there.
That's really what it was, and they are trying to. They want to send back a little model of the drone. And it was a story that I read, and I thought it was pretty sad and pretty pathetic. We're not a respected country anymore, and we have to be, and we should be. And the potential of this country is unbelievable, but we're just not a respected country anymore.
Pull the trigger. Maybe you should pull the fucking trigger. Pull the trigger. Nobody gonna do